given them the long-term contract.
And police have exhumed 18 more bodies of people believed to be followers of the controversial pastor Paul Mackenzie, bringing the total number of bodies recovered to 39. The bodies were exhumed from 2 freshly marked graves in Shakahola village, that's in Malindi, and Pastor Mackenzie is said to have directed his followers to fast to death so that they can meet Jesus. Leaders have called on Christians to be more cautious with the church leaders. As Willie Lusige reports, the Ministry of Interior has ordered the entire Shakahola forest sealed off and is now treating the incident as a massacre.
The red soil from freshly dug graves in the unforgiving heat invites you to the horror that has become of Shakahola village in Kilifi County.
Na jana tukapata miili 14, in total ikawa ni 21. Leo tunaendelea kufukua, lakini hii haijatosha.
The latest discovery of 18 more bodies has brought to 39 the number of bodies found since the search began on Friday. Police say the graves contain remains of the members believed to be of the Good News International Church, which is led by controversial pastor Paul Mackenzie.
Kama idadi tunapopata kutoka kwa makaburi yanayochimbuliwa, watoto ni wengi ambao waliathirika. Wengi kati yao wanatolewa ni miili ya watoto.
Mackenzie is said to have directed his followers to fast and die so that they can meet Jesus, which led them to starve to death.
Sasa hiyo ni ujinga mkali. Nadanganya usikule. Unakaa na unafuata.
One of the reasons ama kiini kikubwa watu wanapotea ni kutaka kupata mambo ambao ni ya kiroho kwa kimwili.
While the country is yet to come to terms with the latest episode of insanity where members of a suspected cult led by Pastor Mackenzie starved themselves and their children to death, leaders across the country have called on the government to formulate laws that will govern religion in the country.
Kanisa ilisema inataka kuregulate themselves. It is high time. Kuregulate si kupoteza watu vile tunapoteza. Kuangalia ya mambo. Saa hii kwa Malindi, hatujui hapa inaweza tokea lini ama mahali pengine katika taifa letu.
Nyakati za mwisho, manabii wa uongo, makristo wa uongo watakuja kupoteza watu wale ambao hawajapandwa vizuri katika neno. And that is one of the reasons mnaona ya kwamba watu wamekimbilia manabii wa uongo.
Religious leaders expressing anger against what happened in Malindi, but warning Kenyans to be more vigilant and question new churches.
Issues of controls and restrictions, those can't really help much, because issues of religion are, number one, emotive, and number two, very amorphous. So if somebody decides to worship as a fly, you can't stop him.
Can formulation of strict laws governing religion and churches in Kenya be the end of churches turned to cults?
Many of these ministries are under the Society Act and they are registered. And therefore they have a right to preach. The government should look at it seriously and look at who is the right church and who is, in the name of God, is making money.
Church leaders calling on Christians to take the responsibility in questioning teachings by religious leaders.
So the moment any form of teaching goes to the extreme, it loses the balance, people are misled.
Meanwhile, police reported early on Saturday that Mackenzie was on a hunger strike. They said he had refused to take even a glass of water on claims he was fasting and praying.
Right, and to get to understand more on this situation where church followers were forced really to fast so as they are able to meet Jesus, we are joined live via phone, rather, by Apostle Hakim Richard. Good morning to you, Apostle. Maybe you can make us understand how this is possible, honestly.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing me online. Sorry, actually, some of these things are product of the wrong doctrine that people are imbibing in different churches. Because if you look at it, there's a scripture in the book of Matthew chapter 17 which have been misunderstood that says this kind cannot go out except by praying and fasting. So people have twisted that scripture and make people to believe that until they fast, they cannot meet God. But you can still meet God, either you fast or not. So these things are products of false doctrines that have been preached by so many preachers. And because once you imbibe what is extra-biblical, just the way these people have done, it will always result in all these kind of events where people die, people starve themselves and say they are fasting. So it's really sad. Yes.
Can people really, especially followers, be helped so that they are able to separate the good versus the bad preachers in the society right now?
Yes, they can be helped. For instance, in every generation, God raised apostles, not by title, but by content, to be able to teach the church how to differentiate between good preachers and bad preachers. By God, that's what we have been doing in Kenya, and it has caused a lot of enemies. Some people don't like it, all of that stuff. But the Bible is clear. 2 Peter chapter 2 shows us how to detect between false preachers and true preachers. Jesus himself warned and gave us the characteristics of how to identify a true preacher and a false preacher. There is no true preacher that would tell you to use fasting to meet God. None. Fasting is actually, when people present fasting as the only way of touching the supernatural, it's actually occultic. It's not Christ. It's not Christ-like. It's occultic. So people need to be taught for them to be able to detect between lying preachers and false preachers, between true preachers and false preachers. But a lot of people in the church, a lot of Christians have been kept in a state of spiritual ignorance, biblical illiteracy. The Bible is not being taught the way Jesus presented it. So as a result, people just, because they want their problems to be solved, they end up in the hands of charlatans and this kind of heretic and occultic preachers. So people can be helped if they will listen to sound doctrine. Yes.
And apart from people being taught, it's the responsibility of the government to take care of its citizens. And we've had leaders calling for the regulation of the church. Do you think the government should take this action?
Well, it depends on who is in charge in the government affairs, because matters of church are very sensitive. They require spirit-filled people. So if the government is going to regulate, the government should get people who are really spirit-filled, who understand the terrain, the church terrain, and let them regulate. Of course, I have always said that the church as it is right now does not have a system that checks itself. The Bible says we're supposed to check ourselves, we pastors, but we don't have a system. Everybody is lawless. Everybody does whatever he wants. So, well, the government will have no choice but to check us. But let's assume we have a system that to check ourselves, check our doctrines, check our claims, our prophecies. Then all these things will not be happening. But the church is supposed to regulate itself. But the church does not have the system to regulate itself. And the government cannot fold its hands and be looking at the church. The government have to regulate it. You get my point? So I'm not against that. It's just that people at the government will appoint. Let them be people who are operating in the spirit, who understand the Bible, and they will be able to really regulate in such a way that the innocent among us will not be harmed. Because there are a lot of good pastors and very, very good churches. But just that greedy and desperate members don't go to such good pastors. They always fall in the hands of these charlatans.
Right. All right, Apostle, thank you so much for your insights and your time. We now come to the end of KTN News Center. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Purity Museo Nzuki. Coming up next is an Algeri with Hadia Mwasewa. Keep watching KTN News.